The last few days watching what the Raiders are doing has felt like one of those moments where you can tell something bigger is happening behind the scenes. Not just one move, not just one signing, but the kind of stretch where the front office starts making decisions that tell you exactly what direction this team is about to go in. And if you're a Raiders fan like me, you're probably feeling a mix of excitement, curiosity, and maybe even a little bit of confusion. Because today we've got two different moves involving this team that, when you really look at them together, could quietly reshape how this roster looks going into the season. One of them is a signing that might not look huge on paper, but could end up being one of those under-the-radar moves that pays off big time. And the other one? Let's just say it directly connects to one of the biggest changes this team has made recently. And it tells us how the Raiders plan to move forward after losing one of the most important players this franchise had. And once you hear the full context behind both of these moves, the strategy here becomes really interesting. But before we get into all that, real quick, if you're a real Raiders fan and you enjoy talking about this team every single day like we do here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and help us reach our first goal of 5,000 subscribers. My name is Victor, this is Raiders Nation Update, and this channel is built for real Raiders fans who live and breathe this team. So let's start with the first move the Raiders just made, and it's one that honestly caught a lot of people around the league a little off guard. According to ESPN insider Adam Schefter, the Raiders have agreed to a 3-year, $35 million contract with wide receiver Jaylen Nailor, who spent the first part of his career with the Minnesota Vikings. And the deal includes $23 million guaranteed. So right away, this is not a small, low-risk signing. The Raiders are clearly investing real money here. Now, if you followed Nailor's career in Minnesota, you already know the first reaction a lot of people had when this news dropped. His numbers don't exactly jump off the page. Last season, he finished with 29 receptions for 444 yards. Solid, but not huge production for a guy getting this kind of contract. But here's where the context matters. Nailor spent most of his time buried on the depth chart behind two elite receivers, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. And when you're playing behind Pro Bowl level talent like that, your opportunities are naturally limited. So the Raiders front office clearly believes there's more potential there than the stats show. And that's exactly what analysts have been saying too. At The Athletic, analyst Daniel Popper actually ranked Nailor as the number 27 free agent wide receiver available, and he specifically pointed out that Nailor's production doesn't fully reflect the player he could become. Popper basically said when you watch the tape, you see a receiver who might be ready to take a big leap in the right environment. And clearly, Raiders general manager John Spytek saw something he liked. Another interesting detail here, this signing is actually a bit of a homecoming. Nailor went to high school in Las Vegas, so coming to the Raiders brings him back to the city where his football journey really started. He originally entered the league as a 6th-round pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, and early in his career he dealt with some injury issues. But over the last 2 seasons, he's managed to stay healthy, and now the Raiders are betting that with a bigger opportunity, he can develop into something much more. Now, even with this signing, the Raiders are not done addressing wide receiver. The team clearly needed help at the position. Yes, they drafted Jack Beck in the 2nd round last year, but he didn't show much during his rookie season. And then there's Dante Thornton, an incredibly athletic player, but still someone who needs a lot of development. Nailor himself is also a bet on potential. And because he mostly plays in the slot, this move might actually change the Raiders' draft plans a little bit. There had been speculation that Las Vegas could target USC wide receiver Makai Lemon in the 2026 NFL Draft, but this signing may make that less likely. Still, the Raiders could absolutely add another receiver. They still have plenty of salary cap space, even after signing star center Tyler Linderbaum earlier in free agency. And they also hold the number 14 overall pick in the upcoming draft, which could easily be used to address the position again. So this move really feels like the Raiders saying, "We see something in this player and we're willing to bet on it." And honestly, if Nailor finally gets the opportunity he never had in Minnesota and turns into a breakout receiver, this could end up looking like one of the sneakiest and smartest signings of this entire free agency period. But while the Raiders were adding help to the offense, the other move they made today might be even more important because it directly addresses the massive hole left behind after one of the biggest trades this team has made in years. And if you're wondering how the Raiders plan to replace that kind of defensive impact, well, that's where the second move comes in. Now let's talk about the second move, because this one directly connects to one of the biggest moments this franchise has gone through recently. After the Raiders traded star pass rusher Maxx Crosby to the Baltimore Ravens, one question immediately came up across the entire fan base. Who is going to replace that production? Because Crosby wasn't just another player on the roster. He was the heart of the defense, the guy who set the tone every single Sunday, the motor that never stopped running. So the Raiders clearly knew they had to bring in help on the edge. And according to multiple reports, that's exactly what they just did. Las Vegas has signed pass rusher Kwity Paye from the Indianapolis Colts to a 3-year, $48 million contract. So again, just like the move we talked about earlier, this isn't a small deal. This is the Raiders committing real money to someone they believe can play a major role in the defense moving forward. Now, if you know Paye's career, you know he's been a solid and very athletic edge rusher, but not necessarily a dominant superstar. He originally entered the NFL as a first-round pick in 2020 coming out of Michigan Wolverines football, and he spent his first 5 seasons with the Colts. During that time, Paye built a reputation as a very good run defender and a consistently physical edge presence. Across his career, he has 30.5 sacks, which shows he can definitely get to the quarterback. But last season was actually his lowest sack total since his rookie year, finishing with 4 sacks. His best season came in 2023, when he recorded 8.5 sacks. So again, this isn't the type of signing where the Raiders are bringing in a proven 15-sack superstar. Instead, this feels more like bringing in a reliable athletic defender who can play a key role while the team reshapes the pass rush after losing Crosby. And the timing here also matters. This year's free agent class of pass rushers was considered pretty solid, and several of the top names started coming off the board very quickly once the legal tampering period began. So the Raiders moved aggressively to secure someone before the market dried up. And when you zoom out and look at everything the team has done already in this free agency period, it's actually been a massive spending stretch. Reports indicate the Raiders have now committed more than $200 million in contracts across multiple moves. They've added cornerback Taron Johnson. They re-signed cornerback Eric Stokes. They brought in star center Tyler Linderbaum. They signed wide receiver Jaylen Nailor. And now they've added Kwity Paye to help anchor the pass rush, so the Raiders front office clearly isn't sitting around this offseason. They're actively reshaping multiple parts of the roster: offense, defense, and the trenches. Now the real question becomes, are these moves enough to keep this team competitive after such a major defensive loss? Because replacing someone like Maxx Crosby is never just about adding one player. It's about building a new defensive identity. And Raiders fans are definitely going to be watching closely to see whether Kwity Paye can step into that role, or if the team still needs to add even more help on the edge. When you step back and look at both of these moves together, they tell us something really interesting about where the Raiders are right now. This front office is clearly betting on potential. With Jaylen Nailor, they're betting that a receiver who never had a full opportunity behind stars like Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison can finally break out in a bigger role. And with Kwity Paye, they're bringing in a player who has been solid, athletic, and dependable, hoping he can help stabilize the pass rush after the departure of Maxx Crosby. But what really stands out is how aggressive the Raiders have been overall. More than $200 million in contracts already committed, multiple new starters brought in, and a roster that's clearly being reshaped on both sides of the ball. Now, the big question for us as fans is simple. Are these smart, calculated moves that are going to pay off? Or are the Raiders taking some big risks hoping these players can develop into something more? That's something we're all going to find out very soon. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think about the Raiders signing Jaylen Nailor and Kwity Paye? Do you think Nailor could turn into a breakout receiver here in Las Vegas? And do you believe Paye can really help replace the impact that Maxx Crosby had on this defense? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one because this channel is really about Raiders fans talking football together. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it. This channel Raiders Nation update is still brand new, and the goal right now is to reach our first 5,000 subscribers. So if you're a real Raiders fan who enjoys honest opinions, daily updates, and real conversations about this team, subscribe to the channel and be part of the community. And as always, just win, baby.